A new chapter in the ongoing battle over reproductive rights has just been written in Texas, where lawmakers have passed a groundbreaking bill aimed at stopping abortion pills from being mailed into the state. This move, hailed by some as a bold step toward protecting fetal life, and criticized by others as an overreach that targets vulnerable patients, could set a precedent for how other states approach the issue of medication abortion access. But here's where it gets controversial. The law doesn't just restrict providers within Texas. It casts a wide net, threatening lawsuits against doctors and even pharmaceutical companies outside the state. And this is the part most people miss. The bill's unique enforcement mechanism allows any private citizen to sue someone for violating the law, potentially turning neighbors into de facto enforcers of the state's abortion policies. So, what exactly does this mean for the millions of Americans navigating this contentious landscape? Let's break it down. House Bill 7, now awaiting Governor Greg Abbott's signature, introduces a sweeping legal framework that penalizes anyone involved in mailing, prescribing, or distributing abortion medication to Texans. The stakes are high. Health providers found guilty face minimum fines of $100,000, while pharmaceutical companies that manufacture the drugs used in these procedures could face similar penalties. This provision, critics argue, could stifle innovation in reproductive health care and make it harder for people in other states to access these medications. But supporters of the bill insist it's a necessary measure to uphold Texas's near-total abortion ban, which has been in place since 2021. The law mirrors the state's infamous 6-week abortion ban, which effectively eliminated abortion access before the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade. Yet, as with that law, the real question remains, can a state truly enforce such a policy across state lines without federal intervention? Texas isn't the only player in this drama. For years, residents of the state have turned to shield laws in other jurisdictions to obtain abortion pills. These laws, enacted in places like California and New York, protect out-of-state providers from being prosecuted by Texas authorities. But now, Texas is pushing back. Attorney General Ken Paxton has already sued a New York-based physician, Margaret Carpenter, while Louisiana's Attorney General has filed criminal charges against her. Meanwhile, 2 Texan residents have launched separate lawsuits against shield law providers, with legal heavyweights like Jonathan Mitchell, former Solicitor General, leading the charge. Yet despite these efforts, telehealth abortions have continued to rise. By the end of 2024, an estimated 3,400 Texans were obtaining medication abortions each month through telehealth, a number that underscores the demand for accessible, affordable care. The stakes for patients are clear. Abortion pills, which can be taken at home, offer a discreet and cost-effective alternative to traveling out of state for procedures. Global health organizations, including the World Health Organization, have endorsed telehealth abortions as a safe and effective method. And yet, opponents argue that these pills are being misused or accessed irresponsibly. But data tells another story. Since the overturn of Roe, the number of abortions in the U.S. has actually increased, with 1 in 4 now performed via telehealth. Half of those patients live in states with abortion restrictions, relying on shield law providers to fill the gap. The political theater surrounding this bill has been no less dramatic. The legislation faced fierce negotiations between anti-abortion groups, with Texas Right to Life playing a central role. Earlier versions of the bill failed to pass during the state's regular legislative session, prompting calls for special sessions to revisit the issue. Even within the anti-abortion movement, there's division. Kylene Wright of Texans for Life admits the bill may be oversold, while others question whether it will survive legal challenges. Meanwhile, Democrats temporarily fled the state to block redistricting legislation, forcing Abbott to call a second special session, a move that only passed after California's governor pledged to redraw his state's maps, potentially limiting Republican gains in Texas. But the most contentious aspect of the bill might be its financial incentives. Under the law, anyone suing a provider can claim up to $100,000 in damages if they're connected to the unborn child and $10,000 if they aren't. with the remaining $90,000 going to charity, though the bill doesn't specify which. This provision was added to appease lobbyists from Texans for Life and the Catholic Church, who feared the law would lead to frivolous lawsuits or even target patients themselves. The bill also explicitly bans using these lawsuits to force abortion patients to testify, a small concession to critics who argue the law violates due process. So what happens next? Will this bill succeed in cutting off access to abortion pills for Texans? Or will Shield law providers find new ways to adapt? One California-based physician, who asked to remain anonymous due to ongoing lawsuits, says her team is prepared for a legal showdown. If it's state versus state, we've got a solid plan. But as the debate rages on, one thing is clear. The fight over reproductive rights isn't just about laws and lawsuits. It's about values, autonomy, and the future of healthcare. What do you think? Can a state like Texas truly override the decisions of other states on this issue? Or will the courts step in to settle the matter once and for all? Share your thoughts in the comments below.